Hi everyone. I hope you're all doing healthy and well. My name is Shivani and I'm very excited to welcome you to Emory's CollegeSide Chat panel discussion.
So we hope this fireside chat will provide you all a glimpse into life at college and an opportunity to hear about our panelists' stories and experiences. This discussion is budgeted for about an hour. So the first half will be your panel answering previously submitted questions. And then the second half, we're gonna have an open discussion for you guys to ask questions.
So we're going to start off with some introductions of the panelists. Let's have each of our panelists introduce themselves with their names, pronouns, hometowns, years, majors, and the first thing that they want to do after quarantine. Who wants to go first?
I can go. My name is Raoul van den Hout, he, him, his. I'm in my last year at Emory. My original hometown is Turnhout, Belgium, but I've lived in Atlanta since high school. I'm studying biology and economics, and the first thing I'm doing after quarantine is having 3 Big Macs in a row.
I can go next. So my name is Juliana. I am a first-year student at the college. My pronouns are she, her, hers. What else is in this? Oh, hometowns. I'm from Pennsylvania, and I'm a double major in creative writing and Chinese. The first thing I'm gonna do when quarantine is over is, I don't know, like hang out with my friends. It's basic, but yeah.
My name's Meg, and my pronouns are she, her, and hers. I'm from Las Vegas. I'm a first year. I'm majoring in math and economics, and the first thing that I'll do when quarantine is over is probably go eat Korean barbecue.
Hi, my name is Aiden. I'm a first year. I'm from Orlando, Florida. I'm planning on entering the business school, also with a double major in human health. And the first thing I want to do when quarantine is over is go see my friends in Atlanta.
Alrighty, I can go next. Hi, everyone. My name is Julia Varner. I am a first-year student. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm from Houston, Texas, and I'm hoping to double major in psychology and sociology. And the first thing I do when I get out of quarantine is probably get some good coffee and go see my high school friends.
So my name is Ishan. My pronouns are he, him, his. I'm also from Vegas, like Meg. I'm a senior. My major is physics, and the first thing I'm going to do is, I don't know, go to a skate park.
Okay. Hi guys, I'm Shivani. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm a first year studying business and political science on the pre-law track. I'm from Tallahassee, Florida, and the first thing I want to do when quarantine's over is spend time with my friends and family. Has everyone gone?
Yes.
Okay, so now that you guys all have a glimpse into who we are, we're going to begin with some of the most commonly asked questions submitted through the Google form. So the first question is, how have you changed in college and how did Emory influence that change?
So I'll take that first, but I think that college has really turned me into a more articulate and confident communicator. And I think that's mostly just due to the fact that Emory students are just so nice. Everyone is so welcoming, and it makes me want to like get out of my shell a little bit more. And I also think that I've also changed a lot in the sense that like my interests are a lot more varied. And I came into college knowing that I wanted to study creative writing, and I was like, this is the only thing I want to do. I hate math, I hate science, like whatever. But meeting people who are good at everything and they like are passionate about doing everything made me realize that like I should be more open to having multiple interests, and like there's a lot more duality to interest than just like your one thing you're good at. So yeah.
I think I've definitely had a similar experience. I'm definitely more independent, but that's going to come really with just any college experience. But I think uniquely to Emory, just the nature of the student body and how small the class sizes are, it really pushed me to be more confident to participate in class, to work on group projects confidently and take leadership. And that was always something I struggled with in high school. And even just in 1 year, I feel like I've really made a lot of progress with that.
Does anyone else have anything to add?
I would definitely say that going to college has made me a lot more confident in stepping out of my comfort zone and trying to get involved in things that I might not have thought to get involved with when I was in high school, thinking about what I would do in college, because I think Emory does a pretty good job of advertising events and clubs and just different activities that you can get involved in. And so it's really easy to reach out to people and to try new things. And I'm always surprising myself with what I'm actually into and what I actually enjoy.
Okay, then I think we can go to our next question, which is describe Emory's student culture and academic climate.
Okay, I can start with this one. So I definitely say that I think my favorite way to summarize Emory is work hard, play hard, as to where, everybody is absolutely here to get a great education, but everyone also loves to have fun and get to meet new people. In terms of academics, it's absolutely a collaborative environment, as to where I've worked with, some of my great friends on things, and, so that we all kind of rise to the top together. And, in terms of like social culture, it's really great because Atlanta is such a fun place to go around, and, you get to try all these new restaurants and have fun on campus. So it's perfect. It's definitely a great balance.
Awesome. I agree. I would say that Emory students are definitely very high achieving, but I don't think they let that get in the way of working with one another and collaborating on projects. And I definitely don't think I would have done quite as well academically if it weren't for study groups and peer mentoring and working together.
Yeah, I definitely agree with what's been said. Work hard, play hard was something I heard a lot before coming to college, and I didn't really know what that meant. But I think I can describe it by when you're like walking around on campus to class, I think people will stop and have conversations and casually go about their day. And also like a very social place on like a school day as well. So there isn't this competitive do your homework 24/7 environment. While everyone is really high achieving, I think it's a really relaxed and fun place to push yourself academically.
All right, so what do you recommend for choosing courses for the first semester? So focusing on breadth requirements or going into important classes straight away for maybe what you think your major might be?
Okay, I'll start for that one. So Emory has a lot of general education requirements, which means that during your time at Emory, you have to take classes in a lot of different subjects. So I would definitely recommend trying to get some of these out of the way in the beginning, especially if you already know what you want to be studying. However, if you're not sure what you want to major and you're considering a few different things, I would definitely try to take classes in what you're considering in the beginning. That way you can sort of make your decision as quickly as you can. I also will say that Emory has a first year seminar requirement, and I would definitely take advantage of this. It's basically a class that you're required to take in either your first or second semester in any subject, and it sort of gives you a foundational understanding of what that major and what that subject is about. And I would definitely recommend taking advantage of that and learning about something you're interested in for that.
To go off of that, I want to say that like you might think you know what you want to major in, but like sometimes you take a class and you realize that you're interested in a lot of different things. Like me personally, like I knew I wanted to study writing, but I took a psych class and I was like, wait, now I want to do psych. And then I ended up hating it. But the point is that like I would advise against like deciding that, oh, I want to be a blank major, so I'm going to take a bunch of classes related to that like immediately in your first semester, because like you, one, might not be prepared for them, and two, like, you should really be using, as Shivani said, that first semester and that second semester to kind of like really explore everything that Emory has to offer, because they, like, we are a school of like great academic breadth. Like, there's just so much you can take. And also on the general education requirements that she mentioned, a lot of your major courses are going to overlap with them. So it's not like, don't be in a rush to do them because you have a long time to get them done, but also like, don't just limit yourself to either or, like general education or major. Like, there's a lot of overlap. So that's what I have to say.
Yeah, going off of that, I think a lot of people come into Emory with either like an idea, I want to be pre-business or pre-med, or some people just don't know what they want to do. There's lots of other options besides those like 2 professional tracks. But what I didn't understand going in was that you can like finish a major usually in 10 to 12 classes, which is really 1 year. So you don't have to go in freshman year and get 5 requirements done the first semester for a major, because it really is a great time to kind of explore what you want. So if you were interested in pre-med, you can take 1 or 2 pre-med classes and a ton of other things. You don't have to kill yourself the first semester. And a great tool for that to even start looking over at like during the summer is our course atlas. If you just go to like Atlas Emory, you can search by major what different classes they have, and you can kind of look and see what sort of things you're interested in, which majors you might be willing to pursue. Just like shop that like a shopping cart, and it kind of gives you a good idea of like how much breadth you can have at Emory and kind of where you might want to pinpoint.
All right, great answers. So this next one, a lot of people asked, what do you dislike most about Emory and how can it be improved?
I'd actually like to quickly jump back to the last question and throw in something about the Oxford campus. Because I'm not sure if anyone in here is considering Oxford or has been admitted to Oxford as well, or just Oxford, but the climate there in terms of classes that are available and classes that you might get into is a little bit different, which you can really use to your advantage if you are at Oxford. What a lot of people end up doing at Oxford is taking their general education classes because not as many major classes are offered, but the classes that count for your general education are offered in a wide variety of really interesting topics. So for example, for me, I took a history of mathematics class that counted both as a writing credit and as a math credit and as a history credit. So I advise you to look into those things too.
All right, so to answer the next question about maybe some things that Emory could improve on, it's honestly kind of a small thing, but when I was applying to colleges, one thing that I was keeping in mind was, I don't know, sporting events and school spirit and just general school hype over those things, because I didn't really go to a high school that was really involved in those sort of things, and I just thought it would be really fun. And I knew that they generate a lot of school hype and school spirit, and that's not really present at Emory. We don't really have a football team. We do have sporting events. They aren't like big campus-wide, I don't know, like there's not that much hype about them. We have really great sports teams, but it's just a little different from what I was imagining at first. And so while Emory students are really proud of going to Emory and we love our school, there's just not really school spirit, like tailgates and things like that. But it's a small thing, and it doesn't affect my experience as much as I thought it would.
Okay, one thing that I'm not the biggest fan of is our add drop swap period. So when you first enroll in your classes, the first week of school is called add drop swap, which means you can like change your classes and try out different classes, but it only gives you like less than a week to do that. So sometimes you end up kind of getting stuck in a class that you didn't even try out or you didn't really want to be in, and then you can't really get out, and it's just kind of difficult. So I think the concept of add drop swap is really good, but it doesn't completely work in practice. So I would definitely recommend try to like have your classes planned out before add drop swap and don't rely on that to help you make your decisions.
For me, something that I struggled with at first was realizing just how much agency I really have over my own college experience once you're there. And I think Emory could do a better job of, at the start, really explaining to you some things instead of you having to discover a lot of the ways in which the school works, such as add drop swap. I, in my orientation experience, had a hard time figuring out what it was and how it worked, or what the general education requirements were. Because I think Emory has a lot of red tape and infrastructure set in place, but you have to go out and look for it, which also presents a lot of opportunities to go talk to people, to go make new friends. I made some of my best friends in trying to find answers for questions I thought the college should have answered for me.
Does anyone have anything else to add?
I'll add something. So, coming from Houston, it's a huge driving city. And so Emory doesn't allow you to have cars your first year. And so for me, that was kind of a big adjustment, especially when all my friends were bringing their cars. But it actually turned out to be pretty positive because it makes you kind of learn how to have fun on campus and kind of pay attention to what's happening on campus. And it also just kind of helps you make friends because, everybody's kind of there together. So.
Okay, the next question is, what has been your most memorable experience at Emory?
For me, I really, really like the start of every semester when you first get to see all your friends again, when you sign up for new clubs, new opportunities, you get to find new classes. And last year, when I started the year as an orientation leader, it was like that same experience of coming back to school, seeing all your friends again, but just amplified, where now I was part of all these clubs, and having been here for 3 years at that point, I was pretty well integrated into Emory society. So seeing everyone again at that point was honestly a highlight of my college career. That's where I met, like that weekend of doing orientation training and then orientation two, and getting to meet a whole class of first years and show them the campus, getting to meet a whole class of orientation leaders and learning what they were doing. Wild.
I think that my most memorable experiences at Emory, I'm kind of struggling to think of a single one because I feel like this is kind of cheesy, but I feel like the couple of months that I had at Emory were probably the best of my life. I think every moment I had there was pretty extraordinary. Some things that I would point to are Songfest, which is a first year tradition where each residence hall learns a song and dance and then competes in a huge competition, and it's a really big deal. That was really fun, and I met some really cool people from my hall. But I think that my most memorable experiences other than that have just been the little things, like walking outside of my dorm room and having my best friends in the whole world 2 doors down from me, and then postmating Taco Bell at 2 a.m. and while we study for finals. Stuff like that. I also think that rushing was a very memorable experience. Greek life is something that I really encourage everyone to try. And
I think you're muted. Well, are you done?
oh wait, yeah, I was done. It
Okay.
cut out. It was laggy for a second, so then I just
Oh, totally. Do you want to speak more, or?
No, I'm good. I'm good.
Okay. I want to talk about my favorite experience at Emory. It was with Ral, actually. So, like Ral mentioned, we were orientation leaders together. And orientation, so right as you come to Emory, I think those first couple of weeks are some of the most fun weeks, because the workload hasn't settled in yet, and everyone's happy and lively. They're in a great mood, having just come back from break. And so my favorite experience was writing. So Emory is sort of slanted. So one side of the campus is higher in elevation than the other side of the campus. And so with like 2 bicycle pedals, I don't know how to, you just need to like, I don't know, like 1 cycle of pedaling, you can get like a very long distance. And so Ral and I together, we like rode on a bicycle from basically one end of campus to the whole other end of campus. And at one point there's like a small area where it's uphill. And basically, if you imagine these are the bike wheels and they're supposed to be cycling like this, Ral is 6 feet tall and I'm like 5'5". So the bike itself was slanted, but as it was slanted, we were also wobbling up and down like that. So we looked like I don't know what the, like a, what, I don't know what the right thing is, but it was a really fun experience.
We were.
It was like a piston or something like that. Yeah. That was by far one of my favorite moments. And I'm actually kind of sad that Raul didn't mention me when he was talking about his most memorable experience, but whatever. I think in general, like the first couple of weeks, right when you get to campus, it's a great time to interact with a lot of people. It's a great time to, like other people have said already, like explore a bunch of new things in that first like time period. And like Shivani said, it's a little short, but you should definitely try to take full advantage of that if you can. Cool. Anyone else have anything else to say to that question before I move on? Cool. Imposter syndrome was a concept that many of us heard during our first years. If you feel comfortable, could you discuss some of your insecurities as an incoming first year joining such a selective class?
So I know that I was really nervous at first because I knew that going to a competitive college meant that I would probably be surrounded by some competitive kids. So I was really worried that maybe my work ethic wouldn't measure up, or that my professors would have these absurdly high expectations of me that I just couldn't meet, and I'd be worked to death, or that I'd just be surrounded by really cutthroat kids, which I was so wrong about. I didn't need to be worried about that. I didn't need to be worried about any of those things, really. It was kind of an adjustment because I've always been one of those students who's been kind of scared to raise my hand in class and to participate in discussions, but I, over time, gained a lot more confidence in my ideas and my work ethic, and as time went on, I really realized that the professors are really reasonable and the students are really supportive and great, so I didn't have to worry about any of those things at all.
Yeah, I second that for sure. I would consider myself, I applied ED to Emory, and I would still consider myself very lucky and blessed that I got in. And so I definitely was sort of feeling the pressure about going and having to, manage that workload in such a selective class. But it was such a great adjustment because the environment of Emory is so great, and all the professors I found were so helpful. I feel like people always, paint this image that professors are kind of scary and everything, and some of them can be, but a lot of them are really great, and they really just want you to succeed and find something that you're really passionate about. So imposter syndrome is real, but I think once you get to Emory, it all kind of dissolves away.
Yeah, for sure. Wait, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Wait. Okay. So I actually had a huge inferiority complex coming in, and I was I had the worst imposter syndrome my whole first semester. I also applied ED, and I was like, wow, I don't deserve to be here. Everyone's so much smarter than me. And the reality is yeah, you're it's a really good school. Your classmates are going to be brilliant. But I think I realized that everyone feels that way. Even the people that you think are doing okay, I don't know, they are struggling with it just as much as you are. And also people are only really showing you what they want you to see. Of course you're gonna see that the girl who got into Harvard is here, and the girl who invented whatever is here, but I don't know, I feel like Emory, kind of other people mentioned, professors are really, really good about making you feel welcome, and the imposter syndrome thing kind of dissipates once you realize that you're just as good at everyone's here because they were good. So yeah.
Yeah, I really like that. I was gonna say something similar. Basically, I know everybody thinks that you're going to this school with a bunch of really exceptional people, but I really think that everybody at this school is like at that level. And so if you ever feel like you're surrounded by a lot of really hardworking people who are working on a lot of really cool projects, I just want you to know, like, you are just the same. Like, you are also going to do some really amazing things at Emory. The admissions committee chose you for a reason. Unless you were like lying about playing water polo, you definitely deserve to be here.
All right, awesome. So now we're going to move on to our next segment, which is the rapid fire questions. So we've compiled a list of the shorter questions you guys have asked, and pretty much everyone's going to answer this. So the first one is, what's your favorite first year class that you took?
I think that's me. That's really hard. I took Film 270, which is like our introductory film course, and I loved it. We watched so many cool movies. Like I just had to watch Mean Girls like 2 days ago and write an essay on that. It was cool. And I also took a linguistics course. Not like none of these are related to my major, by the way, just to like show you what you can take. I took a really cool sociolinguistics course about different like ethnic minorities in the U.S. and how like language has a lot to do with like how you're perceived by people. So we learned a lot about African American vernacular, Asian American languages through the ages, and like Chicano and like Creole languages. It was really interesting.
I would say that my favorite class that I've taken so far in my first year, sorry for the background noise, but was definitely my freshman seminar class. It's psychology of film because I'm interested in psychology and film, but I'm majoring in neither one. So I figured this was like the perfect seminar, and we would just watch these different movies and then talk about the different psychological elements that were there and the different cinematographic elements that were there and how they work together. Like my final paper was on Gone Girl, and that was such a fun paper to write and to think about. And yeah, there are just so many options for your seminars. Especially I would definitely recommend taking something that you're interested in, because that served me really well.
Okay, my favorite class is actually one that I'm in right now. It's called, I think, Research Methods in Political Science, something like that. It's Political Science 208. It really helped me decide that I wanted to do the political science major, and it also got me started on the research that I'm doing now.
My favorite first year class was actually a physics class. So I'm a physics major, and coming into college, I had absolutely no idea what I was going to be doing. But the professor who taught the class was this, like, he was like an excellent physicist. He understood it at a really deep level, and he was also like a huge dork, and he did tons of demonstrations. And so just through his class, I sort of fell in love with physics, and that sort of shaped my major. So these first year classes that you take can like have a huge impact on your trajectory. Like I think Aiden was saying.
I took a financial accounting class my first year. And mind you, I'm a biology and economics student. So that was way out of where I thought I'd ever find myself. But the professor is this accoladed, amazing woman who like knows her field in depth. And even though I guess I did take a second accounting class afterwards, but even though accounting is nowhere near what I'm looking into as a career, it taught me a lot about how the finances of companies are done, and it gave me a lot of insight into areas of life that I never thought I'd actually know about. But now when I recognize it and I see it in some places, I'm like, oh, that was my first year experience right there.
Okay, this one's so hard to answer because I don't know, I've taken so many classes that I like. But I'd say my first one is Psychology 110. There's 2 introductory psychology courses, and this is the first one that I took. It's the more neuroscience biology based. And it's probably because of the professor that I had, which is another piece of advice that I heard is you take a professor, you don't take a course. And so I definitely recommend, I would always pick a great professor over a course. So I love that class. He truly made psychology applicable to life. And honestly just how to live your life better, knowing things about the brain and everything. So yeah, my favorite class so far.
Okay, I have two. My first one is also financial accounting. And very rarely will people be like, financial accounting is super fun, but it was like, I looked forward to going to class every day. My teacher told us she was going to be our coach, and she really pushed us for career development and how to be a better person and a better student, not just how to make it a financial statement. So it kind of spoke to like how much teachers were invested in our success just beyond the point of class. We text her, she calls us on the weekends. After class, we're gonna hang out with her. Like, she was really the best and was probably like really critical part of my Emory experience. I also took Health for 85, which was all about holistic methods of healing depression. And since Emory is such a huge medical hub, predictive health is such a central theme to Emory, and being kind of part of that and hands-on learning about these different methods and helping research and think of strategies was something that's like really unique to Emory. And even if you're not into human health or if you don't want to be a doctor, I think it's something that a lot of Emory kids should take advantage of.
Should we go to the next question? Is that me? Okay, what's your favorite place to study?
My favorite place to study is probably, well, really any of the coffee shops, because I love studying with coffee, and having a little bit of noise really forces me to really try hard to focus, and I end up focusing better. So that's what I would probably say.
My answer is probably right outside my dorm. In the little lounge areas, there's table and stuff. I don't know, that was really nice for me because I kind of had my own space, but people were always coming and going, so I still got to see people that I knew. And then my other favorite place is Caldi's, which is a coffee shop on campus. That place on Sundays is really great, but you got to go early and get a table.
My favorite places depend on the kind of studying I'm going to do. Like, whenever I'm like studying, but I'm just kind of like reading or skimming something, I like to go to Club Libs, which is what we call the bottom floor of the library. And there's like a coffee shop down there, and like it's very loud and talkative. And then if I'm trying to get more work done, like Julia, I like to go in the study lounges with my friends. I personally don't really like Caldi's just because it gets really loud sometimes. But I'm a big fan of like the student center. There's a lot of good seating in there, and Cox, which is our like dining hall, I get like a food court. And then there's an upstairs section where like there's computer labs and like really comfy chairs that you can study in.
I'm also a big fan of the Student Center. I think it's really fun to see how the vibe kind of changes throughout the year. Like during the beginning, it's such a social hub. But like in finals season, it'll literally be like a library. It'll be dead silent. I also love studying in the Math and Science Center. Even though I'm not a math or science major, it's just really quiet, really peaceful, lots of open air. The library can just be like a little too much for me.
I like
My
to
favorite-
study. Oh, sorry.
You can go.
I like to study in the center of the library. There's this huge set of comfortable couches, but you're also surrounded by half the student body, so you feel judged if you pick up your phone and stop studying. And that's a good motivator for me. I also like other public areas like that. Like campus is scattered with like little comfy couches where you could sit just outside of like a classroom or outside of your dorm and just study while enough people are still walking by that you can say hi to your friends if they walk by, and otherwise just feel judged enough to motivate you.
My favorite place is the Cox Computing Center. Juliana mentioned it's like above our food court. They have these little things where like you sit down on the floor on this cushion, and there's like a desk and a computer set up. So I definitely spend like hours there every day. I would definitely recommend.
All right, so this next one's a good one. What's your biggest regret in college so far?
I would say my biggest regret is not getting involved in that many clubs early on, because they make it really easy to get on the emailing list and to go to general body meetings. But I was kind of scared of doing that at first, but I shouldn't have been. And so many of my friends are in clubs that they love and are super involved in them. So that's that's one thing I regret, I think.
For me, I don't really have that many regrets about college, but as a caveat more, it's that I joined too many clubs when I first came to Emory, and especially in Oxfordism, where there's like however many students and twice as many clubs. So it's really easy to get over involved. And I did that. But it's also a really good set of opportunities, so I don't regret it because I had a lot of good fun in those clubs.
Yeah, mine also has to do about clubs. I wish I understood how different club involvement can be. I mean, for example, like some you have to get picked for, go through interviews, and they're really time consuming, and like you're really involved. Others are just you show up once a month. So kind of being strategic about what you do. I think people who really are passionate about their clubs most of the time are in the ones that are more time involvement and interview process, and they're really involved with that throughout their whole experience. So my advice would probably be like to talk to upperclassmen when you're trying to figure out what clubs you want to do and understanding what the time commitment and involvement would be and kind of how you see it projecting throughout your time at Emory.
I actually have a very specific regret. So like a lot of the other panelists mentioned that they're in Greek life. I am not. And so I don't go to parties very often. But one time my friends really begged me to go with them to this thing called a barn party. And I don't know if you guys know what a barn party is, but I had no idea what it was. So I went there and everybody was dressed up in like these cute little flannels with like these like ties, and they had glitter on their face and everything. And I came dressed as a cow. So that's definitely my biggest regret.
My biggest regret is not as funny as that, but that's probably more, mine's geared more towards high school. I don't know where everybody is in their high school journey, but for me, I wish I had taken some sort of stats class because I'm in stats right now, and I'd say it's a big adjustment in terms of just adjusting to what stats is, because I was like, oh, I'm kind of okay at calculus. I figured stats would be okay, but it's a big adjustment. So I do wish I had taken stats, but I know that probably doesn't help a lot of second semester seniors.
My biggest regret actually has to do with like social life. Because I agree with everything everyone said about clubs already, but since they touched on that, this is kind of tea. Okay, so my first semester, I like found a bunch of people that I thought were my best friends. Like, okay, whenever you come in your first week, you're gonna be like, oh my god, like these are my people, and like, okay, sometimes you get really lucky and they are, but a lot of times, like your best friends might not be the first people you meet, and like I remember the first couple of weeks I saw everyone had already formed like a very solid group. And someone joined a very solid group, so I kind of like latched onto the first people I saw, and we like went out together all the time. I studied them all the time, and then I kind of realized that like we didn't have much in common. We were all just like kind of clinging to each other because we were insecure about not having friends or something. And like also, I don't know if you guys are in group chats, but like for admitted students, but a lot of times people form these friendships online in group chats, and then they get there in person and it seems like everyone has a clique, and you're like, oh my god, I don't have any friends. But like, so I guess my biggest regret then was like assuming that everyone was doing fine socially and that I was like the awkward loner, or like, and because of that, pushing myself into things that I didn't actually end up like want to be doing. Like later in the first semester, I ended up finding people that I like vibed more with, but yeah, that's my biggest regret, and my advice is to just like don't feel pressured to like hang out with people that you actually don't like, basically.
Yeah, I'll piggyback off that because that is some excellent advice. Like, I think it's really important to understand that like right when you come in that like first year period, everyone's trying to get to know everyone, and like people will definitely put up a facade. And I'm just trying to be careful, especially. And like Emory's a really diverse place, and there's like tons of awesome people, but you might have to work a little to find to settle down and find a good group of friends, because it may happen naturally, but it also may not. And you shouldn't just because I do also know a lot of people who like might have ended up in like toxic places and for quite a while too before realizing that it wasn't good for them. And so it's just a good thing to be aware of coming in, that not a lot of people talk about, but I think that's excellent advice. All right, so that's the end of our prepared questions. So now we're going to answer some questions in chat that the chat had. Is this right?
If you put a question in the chat and it wasn't answered in the chat yet, please feel free to double post.
Yeah, I can kind of jump in and talk about course registration-ish. A lot of people were talking about this. What I remember of it is that before you go to this, Emory in the fall, you have like a Canvas kind of class where you learn about different resources and all that kind of stuff. You meet with advisors before you even get to campus, and they kind of can help you talk about what you want to do. And then also when you're at orientation, you do have more registration meetings. And then I think your actual registration is a little bit before orientation. I'm not 100% sure. But Emory has so many great resources to help you with that. My first advisor was a medical school advisor. Another one was an Italian teacher. Like your advisor could not be like specific to who, what you want to study, which I actually think is a good thing, even though some people might think it's annoying, just because they kind of push you to explore more things and not just go on one straight path. But if you've already committed and you really want to start working on that, the course atlas is such a great tool. It's just Google Emory Atlas. You can look for by requirement, so by freshman seminar, by language, and then by your different major, and you can kind of craft together what you want to put. Every freshman has to take a first year writing course, a freshman seminar, and you also take health and pace in the fall, which are like 1 credit hours that just kind of help you get adjusted to college. Yeah, but Emory will really help you with that once you start doing the Canvas class over the summer and meeting with your advisors. I hope that was specific enough for your questions. Let me know if you have more.
A lot of questions about Greek life. Do one of the panelists want to talk about that aspect of it?
Well, I'll definitely say that I wasn't planning on really looking into Greek life when I first started out in college, just because I had a lot of cousins who went to different universities and they didn't really have great experiences, so I figured it would be the same for me. But then I went to some of their earlier events, like open houses and just really casual things like that, and I found out that the girls are so nice, and the sororities that I was talking to and everyone there really had great experiences, so I figured I would go through with the rushing process and see how it turned out for me. And now I'm in Gamma Phi Beta and I love it, and I've made so many friends that way and so many friends just by going through the rushing process. So I would definitely recommend it. It was a lot of fun, and especially the fact that I didn't really think that I was going to go through with the rushing process, and then I did, and I loved it. It's just definitely worth exploring.
Yeah, I definitely second that. Me and Meg are actually in the same sorority. But if any of you are coming from, where your friends went to huge state schools, because I had a friend go to UT, one went to Bama. So I definitely know, what the stereotype kind of is. And it's very different than that. It's really nothing like rushing at a big state school. It's very laid back. There's no stress on, oh my God, what do I have to wear? Something like that. There's no huge letters that you have to send in, because I know all my friends had to send in a lot of letters and things like that. But it's really just finding about where you vibe, what who do you like when you're going to all these houses. Another great thing is that there are kind of these events beforehand that you just kind of get to go and see, oh, is Greek life something that I even want to try? And a lot of my friends ended up having a good time and ended up joining a sorority, and it's been really great for all of us.
I wanted to answer the question that Daniel asked about rushing at the Atlanta campus while you're still at Oxford. So I'm a main campus student, but there are a couple of girls in my sorority who are from Oxford, and I've talked to them about this, and they've been it was a really good experience for me, and I personally don't feel any kind of disconnect if that's something you're worried about. Obviously Oxford is physically distant from Emory, but you don't really like when you're in a like sorority or fraternity, you don't actually like do stuff until like the weekends, I would say. So like you have like chapter meetings and like philanthropy events then and like parties and stuff too. So like you will be able to go to the stuff that matters. And it's a really good to branch out and expand your social circle to people beyond Oxford. Um, I also wanted to add on to what everyone else has said. I think we're all just like flexing our sororities right now, but like, I never thought I was going to join a sorority in high school. I was like really like vehemently against it, and then I ended up rushing, and like I absolutely loved it. Like I'm not gonna lie to you, rush sucks. Like it just like it's very tiring having to like talk to people, but like everyone is so nice and they understand, and like I also think that an unspoken concern about it is people are like the ranks, like what's the best one? And like genuinely, like I'm not just like saying this because like I want you to come here. Like at Emory, it's so chill that like no one really cares because at the end of the day, everyone kind of knows that like they're all kind of the same and like you're getting a pretty similar experience no matter which one you end up in. Also, my last point, everyone has friends in every organization. I have like at least 2 or 3 friends in literally every single sorority and like most frats. So like do with that what you will, but I definitely think you should rush.
I will also say I did not join Greek life. I'm very much not a Greek life person, as you could tell from my story. But I would also say that if you're not interested in that kind of thing at all, then you don't need to worry that you won't have a social life on campus. Like from all your other clubs and from your classes, you can still have friends. And a lot of the parties and events from Greek life, you will still be like invited to, and you still get to participate in that. So I wouldn't worry that if you're not interested that you might not be able to make friends, because you definitely can.
Yeah, kind of jumping off of that, all my friends went to like big Southern like public schools, and I never thought I would be involved in Greek life. But it's one of my favorite parts of Emory. I think people like there is no hate among different organizations. It really is a Greek community where everyone's just involved. We always end up at the same stuff, so it's not like what sorority, what frat, or what anything you're in really matters, honestly. The only complaint I have is I feel like my view of Emory has gotten a little smaller in the Greek community. Some people disagree with me, but I feel like sometimes you can get trapped in that bubble. But it's really easy to get out of it if you want to. I encourage everyone just to give it a shot. My best friend rushed and then she dropped the day after she got into a sorority because like this isn't for me. And you really lose nothing besides like a $25 registration fee. So just like put yourself out there if you're interested. It's really not a big deal either way. It's just something to add, but if you don't have it, it's not going to take away from your experience.
I'd like to quickly address some of the things about orientation that people are asking. Orientation is being amended and they're trying to plan around some possible contingencies, but there will still be a form of orientation and you will all still get guidance on your transition into Emory. They've already hired all of the orientation leaders and the leaders of the orientation leaders, and the planning process has been going on for months at this point. So you will still be guided.
If you guys want, you can also just ask a question live on the recording.
Wait, I'm like going through and trying to figure out like a question to answer, but what are some things that you definitely should bring? Is there anything you regret not bringing or bringing? A raincoat. Like I just okay. Oh wait, this goes with the question about being from not Atlanta and adjusting to the South. So I'm from Pennsylvania, and I was like, because I'm moving somewhere that's warm, it will not rain. I think I go to Emory. How was I thinking this? I don't know. But like it will not rain, it will not have bad weather ever, which is like not true. So bring that. Also bring sunscreen because it's hot and sunny. As far as like adjusting to the South, I think that it's like not a like it's not as big of a culture shock as you think it's going to be because like a lot of Emory students are from the Northeast. Like a lot of kids are from the tri-state area, like Jersey, New York, Connecticut, like we are a very diverse university, but like Atlanta is also very different from the South, I would say. For me, the culture shift mostly had to do with how nice people were. Everyone's like Southern hospitality is very much a thing, but other than that, it was not like I didn't have to do too much adjusting.
I'd also say, please don't forget bug spray for the mosquitoes and an extra umbrella, because you'd be surprised how fast an umbrella goes at Emory.
Yeah, jumping off of that, I came to school with like 6 umbrellas and left with none. Like, just bring all that kind of stuff. And you really don't need to pack your whole wardrobe. Once you get placed in your dorm, you can kind of look up and see how much room you're gonna have. I brought way too much stuff, and there really is no reason to. And also bring like walking shoes. You're not gonna be wearing like your cute shoes to class, I promise you. You're walking, be comfortable. It's really hot in Atlanta, which I didn't think about for some reason. Yeah, but be conservative with what you bring. You don't need everything. We go home for winter break and stuff, you can get more stuff.
Yeah, for sure. I've heard a lot of my friends brought like mattress toppers, which is just like a huge, like 1 to 2 inch big fluffy thing you can stick on top of your bed. I loved mine, and I know a lot of people love theirs. Yeah, I definitely say sunscreen. I was gonna say something else, but I totally forgot. Oh, bring a hat. I'm a pale gal, so you know the sun is real when you're walking outside all the time. I like literally got sunburned probably like the whole first month. It's a lot more walking than you anticipate, so just prepare for that.
Okay, so I think that'll be our last question of this formal session because we're out of time.